Have you ever gotten a Sonic toy from McDonald's or any other restaurant? Chances are, well, yeah, probably. Sonic the Hedgehog is no stranger to fast food collaborations, and it's been a thing for over 3 decades now, ranging from McDonald's to Burger King, and even Subway, of all places. Now that Sonic just started collaborating with Burger King as of this writing, it got me thinking, just how many fast food campaigns has Sonic had? 6? Maybe 7? Well, it's gotta be more than that. It can't be more than 10, right? Well, I've signed myself up to actually answer this question, so let's take a look and see just how many fast food collaborations Sonic has had from 1994 to 2025. Let's go! Before I begin, I do want to take a moment to thank my channel members. This video shoutout goes to Paynet. Thanks, Paynet. I appreciate you coming by me and Axel's streams all the time. And hey, if you'd like to have your name featured here and have a possible shoutout, please consider becoming a member by hitting the join button. Also, I want to thank my patrons too. The support means a lot and it allows me to keep creating content. And hey, even if you can't become a member, please make sure you subscribe and hit that bell. It all helps so much. And without further ado, let's get back to the video. There is one more thing I would like to mention. Sonic has had fast food collaborations with restaurants outside of the United States quite a few times, and sometimes they're the same thing, and sometimes they're entirely different. I won't be counting those in this video, since that would make it a lot longer than I would like. So I'm going to prefer to keep it focused on the United States just for this one. And hey, maybe I'll make a follow-up video where we go through all the international toys. So, the very first fast food collaboration Sonic got was with none other than McDonald's from February to March of 1994. This was made to tie in with Sonic the Hedgehog 3 that released for the Sega Genesis. After the success of Sonic 1 and especially Sonic 2, you know that neither Sega or McDonald's would want to miss the hype that the Sonic brand had in the 90s. This collaboration was such a big deal that it is one of the main contributing factors as to why Sonic 3 got split into 2 separate games. But that is a topic for another day. Anyway, the toys. This is a fairly simple lineup with 4 different Happy Meal toys you could get. The very first toy in this lineup is, you guessed it, Sonic. He's depicted as running in blazing fire, which is really cool. This toy is actually 2 different pieces, the launcher with a rubber button, and Sonic, complete with a soft little rubber nose and articulated arms. When you press the button on the launcher, Sonic launches forward a short distance. This toy means a lot to me because it is the very first Sonic toy I have ever gotten, so it's pretty special to me. The next toy is Tails. Even though I gave the Sonic toy plenty of praise for its quality, this one kind of falls short. Tails is merely a sticker on a double-sided thin piece of plastic, and his tails are a little helicopter that allow him to fly up in the air if you pull the string attached to the launcher. Think those old Dragonfly toys from the 90s. Do they still make those? The Tails toy is probably the coolest concept-wise here, but it also happens to be the most problematic. Apparently, Tails often hit kids in the face when launched. Because of this, the toy was greatly modified for other regions, which I will get into if I make an international Sonic fast food toys video. Next up is Knuckles. As a toy, this one happens to be the weakest of the set, but if we think about it in terms of concept, it's the weirdest. Let me explain. What is the thing that stands out the most with this Knuckles toy? If you guessed the cloud, you'd be right. Knuckles is part of a cloud, and if you push it along a flat surface, Knuckles spins rapidly. So, why the hell is he part of a cloud? If you know Knuckles as a character, this makes absolutely no sense. But there actually is a reason, and it's quite fascinating. Knuckles is in a cloud because in the very early builds of Sonic 3, instead of climbing and gliding, Knuckles' main ability was to use whirlwinds to break through walls. This ability was scrapped in-game, and it ended up making its way to the final version of the toy somehow, which means these toys were most likely designed pretty early on, and nobody cared enough to change it. Why this toy had Knuckles be part of a cloud puzzled me for decades, up until an early document dating back to April 1993 surfaced in 2022. And lastly, we have Dr. Robotnik. This is a wind-up toy, and it'll slowly move around a flat surface and turn around if it detects an edge. Design-wise, it's a bit on the weaker side, and it does feature a really decent sculpt. However, a really bad paint job. What is notable about this toy is it uses his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog design. Wait, did I say Robotnik was the last one? Nope, there were a couple more. There were some yellow rubber balls that were available for kids below the age of 3. One with Sonic and the other with Tails, with the latter also using his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog design. When my sister and I were very, very little, I got the Sonic toy, and she got the Sonic ball. Good times. Next up is McDonald's again in 1994, which featured Sonic as part of their Happy Meal anniversary train, which consisted of 15 different toys. But only one of them is Sonic, so that's the only one we're going to be talking about. It was a little pink TV with a Sega Genesis on top, and if you rolled it, the cylinder inside would spin, and you could see Sonic and Tails, both wearing party hats, running as they're being chased by a very angry Dr. Robotnik. I never had this toy, but hey, it seems pretty neat. Next up is Carl's Jr., which released a few Sonic toys in 1996. Obviously, Carl's Jr. is not really known for its toys like McDonald's is, so these are a bit more simple in nature. The toys included were mini viewers, which were smaller versions of Viewmasters. You know, those stereoscope handhelds that you could use to view 3D images when you hold them up to light. 4 toys were made, with Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Robotnik made available. And you could spin the little wheels and look at pictures of each respective character. Unfortunately, I cannot comment on the quality here, as Carl's Jr. is largely found in the western half of the United States. And I grew up in Chicago. Hardee's, which is the eastern equivalent of Carl's Jr., wasn't really common around where I lived either. In fact, I don't even know if Hardee's carried these toys, or if it was just a Carl's Jr. only thing. Information on these is pretty scarce, so if anybody happens to know if Hardee's carried these toys, please let me know down in the comments below. After this, we're gonna have to jump to 1999, which was the year Sonic Adventure released for the Dreamcast. It was also quite a busy year for Sonic in the world of fast food. Before Sonic Adventure ended up releasing later in 1999, Sonic had a toy campaign at Jack in the Box. Well, I suppose it was officially advertised as Sonic the Hedgehog and Friends, which means other Sega characters. There were 4 toys in total, 2 of which being Sonic characters. The Sonic toy would shoot forward in a short distance if you pushed his head down, and next was Knuckles, which was, rather infamous. Or at least it used to be back in the day. I actually remember images of this toy being jokingly used as a 404 image on some Sonic fan sites back in the 2000s. This toy doesn't really do much. It just kind of stands there and does nothing. There were also 2 other figures, Bug from the Sega Saturn game of the same name, and Echo the Dolphin. All of these toys came in this really cool design bag, which kind of looks like it was pulled from the Archie Sonic comics. Additionally, you could purchase some Sonic PC games here for $1.99 each. The games offered were Sonic & Knuckles Collection, which featured Sonic 3, Sonic & Knuckles, and Sonic 3 & Knuckles. Then there was Sonic 3D Blast, which is more or less a port of the Saturn version of the game. Pretty cool that such a significant part of Sonic's library up to this point was available at Jack in the Box, of all places. I didn't end up getting any of these as a kid, because, just like Carl's Jr., this is more of a West Coast only thing up until more recently. Also, if you're wondering why the characters offered here is just Sonic and Knuckles, it's likely because one of the games offered is Sonic and Knuckles Collection, and perhaps it could have been to possibly neatly tie into another eventful Sonic outing of 1999. Sonic Underground, DiC's third Sonic cartoon with a heavy focus on Sonic and his siblings finding their mother. They made a vow and their mother should have been found, but she wasn't, and instead they found a collaboration between Sonic and Denny's. Yes, Denny's, the restaurant! And I know this isn't really fast food, but I'm gonna count it anyway because it's so cool! And to be honest with you, I think are the best Sonic fast food tie-in toys up until this point, if not of all time. There are only 2 toys here, which are plushes of Sonic and Knuckles. They sold for $3.99 each, and they're both really high quality, especially for that price and being a fast food toy. Sonic even comes with that little guitar medallion around his neck. as seen in the show. These plushies are seriously really cool, and they're a decent size as well. They're not small like those teeny beanie babies from McDonald's. No, they're about like 5 inches tall. What's very interesting about these toys is that they're part of a campaign that isn't center focused on promoting a game or the video game brand in general. I did not get these toys at the time of release since I was too little and I didn't even know what Denny's was, so they just flew completely under my radar. I did end up getting them a few years later off of eBay though. However, my buddy Justin, aka Jotpla, did get these at the time of release, and I remember him telling me that he begged his dad for them. His dad did say he would get him the toys on one condition. He'll buy the toys, but he doesn't want to eat any of their shitty food, or something like that. This next entry never ended up releasing, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, just because of how ambitious the project was. In 1999, Burger King had planned to release a set of Sonic toys to coincide with the release of Sonic Adventure as part of their Burger King Big Kids Club meal. This collaboration seems to have gotten pretty decently far into development before it was canned, but fortunately, there are plenty of concept photos that exist. First up is Somersaultin' Snowboardin' Sonic, which is Sonic based on a piece of promotional artwork from Sonic Adventure. This figure was planned to have been bendable, and it had wheels at the bottom of the skateboard. Despite it being a skateboard, it seems like it's based off of Sonic snowboarding and Ice Cap from the game. Weird, because snowboards and skateboards are not the same thing, but hey, really cool regardless. Next is Twistin' Twirlin' Tails, which like the original McDonald's toy early on, has Tails flying. Instead of flying into the air, this Tails is laying on his stomach and is designed to be pushed forward, which would have made his tails rotate. Pretty simple, but practical enough. Next we have Rip Roaring Robotnik, which, by the name alone, shows how early this collaboration was being worked on. This Robotnik toy was able to spin and light up and knock over a little Sonic figure that was included, making this the perfect gift for the Eggman fan in your life. His arms and head would apparently shake when spun. What a cool little toy. Next up is Go Gamma Go, which had a light-up scope for Gamma, and his pistol and arm were set to be articulated. Apparently, his pistol would have had a metallic finish, too. Fun fact, this isn't the only Gamma figure to be cancelled. The bendable Gamma from Toy Island was also never released. Because of this, the Resource figure for E102 Gamma remains the only Gamma figure to exist as of this video's upload date. But at this point, it really does just feel like a matter of time until Jakks Pacific makes their own Gamma. But hey, we'll see, right? He really does just seem to have bad luck when it comes to getting his own toy, doesn't he? Next up is Super Sonic Sled. Real creative name there. And unlike the name suggests, it doesn't actually feature Super Sonic. It's actually Sonic on a sled, which would have sparkled if moved around. This one is really odd because I have zero idea what this is supposed to be based off of from Sonic Adventure. Unless it's a scrapped concept like the Knuckles toy from the Sonic 3 McDonald's campaign. Next up is Frog Catchin' Cat. What, Big couldn't even get a name drop in the title for his own toy? That's lame, but I suppose they prioritize the alliteration in the name, as every toy so far has had one, which I think is actually really creative and fun. Anyway, this toy of Big was designed to rock back and forth with his feet staying stationary, and Froggy would have lit up at the end of his fishing rod. Sounds like a fun little toy. Remember how I praised the toys for having alliterations for names? Yeah, well, I guess for these last 3, they just stopped caring or something, because its naming convention is dropped entirely. Next is Noisy Amy, which featured Amy sitting down holding a yellow mallet, which I guess is just an extremely simplified version of her Pico Pico hammer, and there's a Sonic photo in her other hand. This toy is apparently larger than the rest, and it has actual fabric for her dress. I really wonder why they went all out on the details of her dress, but not the details on her hammer. Anyway, her arms supposedly moved, and I guess she was supposed to hit the photo of Sonic with her hammer. Next is Knuckles Goes for a Spin, which features Knuckles and Robotnik attached to a green object, and it was meant to spin around, which means this would have depicted Knuckles gliding around chasing after Dr. Robotnik. If you look closely, Robotnik seems to have been based off his Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog design for this toy. Interesting. Next up is Turboprop Tails, which is Tails in the Tornado 2, with the plane's propeller being able to spin around. Much like the Robotnik toy, this one also comes with an additional Sonic figure, and it's meant to fit in the little claw and hold Sonic up, which is very similar to how it is depicted in the final build of the game. Lastly, we have Walk'em Sock'em Knuckles, which is Knuckles, again in his gliding position, but this time he has 3 arms on each side, designed to spin and give the illusion that his arms are spinning around really fast. Basically, think of that one clip of him from episode 5 of Sonic X, or the opening from the English dub for the show, Gotta Go Fast. Wow, that was a lot of toys. This collaboration is quite disappointing how it didn't release, because this was when Burger King was, I would say, in their prime when it came to releasing toys. What immediately comes to mind for me are the Pokemon movie toys that released in 1999, which had a huge variety of toys available, from plushes to launchers and water squirters. Even the Rugrats movie toys they released around this time were all really impressive and high quality. They even made these really neat watches that had scents to them. I had the Chucky one, which smelled like bananas. But yeah, it truly is a shame that this campaign never happened, because it seemed super ambitious and creative, and it also had a really big lineup featuring at least one toy for basically every main character except Chaos. And Tikal. The next few years would be oddly quiet for Sonic and fast food, that is, until 2003. In May of that year, Sonic would return to McDonald's. This time, though, it was a little different. They released 6 little LCD games in total. This is the very first Sonic fast food campaign that I actively followed as it was happening, and I was obsessed with getting all of them. I remember seeing a commercial for it airing on Cartoon Network at the time, with it using Sonic's cutscene model from Sonic Heroes. Sonic even spoke a bit, holding up a Happy Meal and saying, "Get happy!" So, let's get into the toys that they had available at this time. First up is the Sonic action game, which was admittedly just a little platformer of Sonic going through Green Hill Zone again before it was cool. Next up is Tails Sky Patrol, no relation, which featured Tails flying through the sky. Then there was Knuckles' Soccer, which is really odd, because what does Knuckles have to do with soccer? Then there's Shadow Grinder. What a name. As the name suggests, it's Shadow grinding on rails, probably one of the coolest ones here. Then after that is Sonic Speedway, which has Sonic driving in a little car avoiding obstacles. Oh, yeah, and there's a Super Monkey Ball game too, titled I Banana Catch. In this game, you catch bananas, as the name suggests. These toys are extremely basic and feature really poor sculpts and even worse paint jobs. I would not expect much from these because they're just little LCD video games, and even at the time, they were basic. Most are controlled with 1 or 2 buttons, usually just to make the character jump or move left and right or up and down. As a kid, even though I was obsessed with collecting all of them, I admit I was slightly disappointed that these weren't figurines, as it was really hard to find Sonic toys in the early 2000s. But hey, I was still really excited because it was Sonic, and it was fun to fully follow this campaign at McDonald's. I remember seeing Uekawa's art of Sonic plastered all over the drive-thru windows, and even the Happy Meal box proudly featured similar 2D art. I remember being so excited about Sonic being at McDonald's that I showed my dad the empty Happy Meal box that I planned on collecting, thinking that he would admire it just like me. Big mistake. Little did I know, he was pretty intoxicated when that happened. He held the box for a moment, just staring into its soul, and then he started to rip and tear into it like a rabid dog. And then he asked where the food was. I was so upset about that, but it's a really funny memory in hindsight that I'll always hang on to. It wasn't long until Sonic would return to McDonald's with more LCD handheld games. In late 2004, more Sonic toys would release, made to promote Sonic Heroes, which released earlier that year. This time, there were 8 standard toys instead of 6. They are all very similar to the first set in terms of functionality, but the biggest difference is the sculpting and painting, or lack thereof. This time they opted to be a bit more simple for the most part, save for a few. What I mean is that the toys are mostly flat surfaces with stickers of the art plastered on them, and the molds of the plastic shells would be made to fit. So first up we have Sonic Extreme Boarding, which is Sonic skateboarding in a half-pipe. Then we have Shadow Hockey, which features Shadow and Omega playing hockey with one another. Then there is Knuckles Treasure Hunt, which the main goal was to collect Chaos Emeralds as they would randomly appear. This one is more in line with the character compared to the original 2003 game. But just like Knuckles in the first run, the characters here are now playing a sport. except him. Again, he happens to be the odd one out. Poor Knuckles. Then there's Amy and Rouge Volleyball, which, like the Shadow and Hockey game, is just Amy and Rouge playing volleyball with one another. Then there's Big's Fishing, which was just a little fishing minigame where you move the lure up and down in front of a fish as it swims by. Then we have the next few games which have a little bit more creativity put into their sculpts. There's Tails Sky Adventure, cleverly sculpting Tails' twin tails into hand grips to hang onto. The plastic is also translucent, which was a big thing a few years earlier with technology. In this game, you control Tails in the tornado too, and the goal is to shoot down enemies that come your way. Next up is Cream Flower Catch. In this game, Cheese drops flowers and your goal is to control Cream and catch them before they hit the ground. And just like in the 2003 set, this set has a bonus additional Sega character game. Instead of Super Monkey Ball, this one was made to promote Billy Hatcher and the Giant Egg, released a year earlier on the Nintendo GameCube. Like the Cream and Tails games, Billy's Giant Egg, which is the name of this little game, has a translucent shell. In this game, you avoid obstacles and collect fruit. If you collect enough fruit, you'll hatch an egg, which is the entire goal of this game. This campaign had a secret bonus toy, which was a very limited silver toy variant of the Shadow Hockey game, and it was limited to about 25 units in total. There are other conflicting reports saying that 2,500 were made, but that could have been a typo. This game is something you had to get completely by chance, and if you won it, you were able to enter a sweepstakes called Search for the Silver Game to claim some prizes like video game systems or an unspecified Sonic game, which was most likely Sonic Heroes as it was the newest one at the time, and the whole Happy Meal campaign was Sonic Heroes themed. Info on this one is really scarce, since it is so rare, and kids who got it at the time likely did not really understand what they got, with only one confirmed person having it in their possession as of this writing. But that could always change in the future. I also heavily followed this McDonald's promotion at the time. I remember there being a lot of Sonic Heroes specific imagery, such as Sonic doing his box art pose on the paper cups. I remember liking that there was more variety here, and more characters got recognition. The downside was, I was disappointed by the lack of unique molds. However, considering the quality of the first drop, maybe them using stickers with the official art on it this time was for the best. After this, Sonic would retire for quite a while from the fast food world. That is until late 2015 at Carl's Jr. Yeah, remember Carl's Jr.? The restaurant that released those little mini viewer things back in 1996? They returned 19 years later to promote Sonic Boom Fire and Ice for the Nintendo 3DS, of all things. These toys are still very basic, but they're at least a little bit more varied compared to their original outing nearly 2 decades prior. This one has a translucent blue Sonic figure standing on a red base. Not too much to say here, other than that, yeah, it's Sonic on a base. Next up is a ball that has some sort of art plastered on it. Then there's a little board game. Admittedly, I'm not sure how this game works or if it's any fun. If anybody got this board game and managed to play it with 4 willing friends, please let me know down in the comments below. And then there's a communicator with a secret compartment, which appears to be a wristband with a little storage compartment. Also, they did end up releasing a few other goodies, such as coloring pages. I am pretty sure that Hardee's ended up releasing these toys, unlike the original set from 20 years beforehand. I never ended up getting any of these toys, as I thought they were pretty underwhelming, and the nearest Hardee's was like over an hour away, and I wasn't gonna put miles on the car for this. Then, a few years later after that in June 2018, Sonic toys were available at Subway. They offered 4 toys, all of which were pretty basic and on the cheaper end. The first one is a Zoetrope, which would be able to create a simple animation. There was an optical illusion toy, along with a decoder and a motion card. And each toy also came with an activity page. The coolest part about this campaign is that all 4 of these toys could attach together, which would then complete a full Gear Play system. This was made to further incentivize kids to get the entire set. Again, I'm not really impressed with these toys, but to be fair, I'm also not the target demographic. These toys are made for kids who are quite young, so I hope the kids who did get these toys fully enjoyed them. Next up is Arby's. Yeah, Arby's, the one with the meats. In late 2019 to early 2020, they had a humble little collection available of Sonic toys. Well, actually, calling them toys feels like a bit of a stretch. These are more like little disc things with stickers on them, and you can make them stand. Honestly, these aren't all that impressive compared to everything else so far, but it is something nice, I suppose, especially if you're a kid. So, something that some people may remember is that in the late 2010s, Arby started to dip its meat into geek culture. They used to post photos of anime or gaming character paper crafts built from their food packaging, usually made out of light cardboard or cardstock. All of them were built by their social media staff, and they were a big hit with gamers and anime fans alike. And because of this, lots of people who otherwise didn't eat at Arby's decided to give it a chance, simply because they saw their favorite character or set piece used. Arby's has made several Sonic posts, many of which are usually just recreations of existing art, but in new papercraft form. So, what does this have to do with fast food, though? A few months after the disc standee toys were phased out, they had a few downloadable papercrafts available for Sonic, Tails, Amy, and Shadow that you could print out and build yourself. Even though that these are papercrafts, they're not the same kind of papercrafts that the social media team posted. These are more of what you would expect when you hear the word papercraft. These are made to be a bit more three-dimensional, and they didn't have a limited color palette. These Sonic papercrafts were not part of a fast food toy campaign, but I thought I should mention it regardless, since for a time, they were known for their geek culture papercrafts. This next one definitely does not count as fast food, but it's worth mentioning nonetheless since they offered plenty of little goodies to customers who ate there. In July 2020, Kura Sushi collaborated with Sonic and offered plenty of little varied items. There was a lanyard with 4 different kinds of badges you could put on it, with there being Sonic, Amy, Eggman, and Tails. There were 5 different kinds of masking tape, with the first one having outlines of the characters behind their respective colors, with the characters being Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Kura's mascot, Muten Maru, also being part of the reel. This next one also featured Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, but with art of their floating heads. This next one was purely Eggman focused, with the text saying, "The world is mine!" sandwiched between Eggman's beautiful mug. Then the last one has art of the characters running and some catchphrases, such as "gotta go fast." Lastly, it's Sonic with some varied items, such as Tamago or a ring. These items were prizes to be won in little capsules after purchasing a certain amount of sushi. The way Kura works is it's sushi on a rotating conveyor belt, and then you grab the plate that you want as it comes by your table. After you insert a certain amount of plates into the dispenser, a little animation will play, and you'll be rewarded a Bikurapon prize, or a Gashapon in a capsule, with each prize being random. This means you could very well get duplicates. If you wanted to collect all of them, you had the option to buy the prizes individually for about the price of a plate of sushi, which ranges from about $3 to $4. Towards the end of this collaboration, for customers who spent $60 or more, Kura also offered some Sonic chopsticks with the art of the characters running on them. While supplies lasted, mind you, and if you haven't tried Kura Sushi yet, I highly recommend it. Axel and I love it, and we thoroughly enjoyed previous collaborations that they've done in recent years, such as Dragon Ball, One Piece, Peanuts, Pikmin, Jujutsu Kaisen, We Bare Bears, and Spy Family. Right now, they're even doing Kirby. Also, sometimes Kura tends to revisit certain IPs. We just got another One Piece collaboration right before Kirby, so hopefully one day they return to Sonic, especially since their prizes tend to be a bit more creative now compared to the last time they partnered with Sonic. Next up is a tie-in at McDonald's for the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 film, releasing in April 2022. There were 10 toys in all, with 3 of each of the main anthropomorphic characters. 3 for Sonic, 3 for Tails, and 3 for Knuckles. Even Robotnik got his own toy, but it's the giant robot from the end of the movie. All of these toys technically do the same thing, in which they have little wheels on the bottom and you could push them forward. The first toy has Sonic doing a super peel out. Then there's Sonic and Blue Lightning. And then there's Super Sonic in a cloud, which was the secret toy of the set. Then there's snowboarding Tails, followed by Tails and Lightning, and then Tails flying in a cloud. And then there's snowboarding Knuckles, Knuckles with Red Lightning, and Knuckles in a cloud. Hey, it might have taken 28 years to do it again, but that's the second toy that McDonald's has made of Knuckles in a cloud. And I am sure you have noticed a pattern by this point. There's 3 of each character, and they're all doing the same thing. Running in lightning, running on a cloud, or snowboarding. Well, except Sonic wasn't snowboarding. He was just doing a super peel out instead. That one was the exception, I guess. And then there's the Robotnik robot, which is just marching through a gaggle of trees. Additionally, there was a little cardboard maze available as well, which was pretty cool. The lineup here is pretty impressive, especially compared to the Sonic toys that have been offered at previous fast food restaurants for the last 2 decades up until this point. There is a lot of variety, but where this falls a little short is that the paint jobs are kind of bad. The molds, while not great, are serviceable enough, and there has certainly been worse. To make up for this lack of color quality, some of the toys would come with little stickers that you could put on. For example, usually the character's feet would be a solid color, like white, and you needed to add red stickers to them. These stickers would usually peel off pretty easily, and they were kind of a pain in the ass. Still though, it's one of the better sets on this list. Sonic would then finally get his first proper shot at Burger King in spring 2023, seeing as the Sonic Adventure collaboration in 1999 didn't work out. Would they live up to the ambition the original set had? Well, let's take a look and you be the judge. This set had 6 toys, all of which seems to be some kind of fidget toy. There was a Sonic head, which looks like you could invert inside and out, an Amy cube maze with a little ball, a Sonic popper, a shadow spinner, a tails spinner, and an Eggman fidget spinner. Man, if only they had gotten to this 6 years earlier. That Eggman fidget spinner, that would have been turning some heads. I never got any of these, and I thought they looked very much on the cheap end, so it was really easy to pass these up. Next up is McDonald's with Sonic 3. This is the second time McDonald's has done a Sonic 3 collaboration, and they are exactly 30 years apart. Except, obviously, the 1994 campaign was for the Sega Genesis game, and the 2024 campaign was for the movie. Like the last time with Sonic 2 back in 2022, this set also went all out on making several variants for each character. There are 12 total, which is 2 more than what was offered 2 years prior. The thing is though, they're all doing the same thing. They're characters in a little wheel, and you can roll them. There's 2 of Sonic, 2 of Knuckles, 2 of Tails, 2 of Shadow, 2 of Super Sonic, and 2 of Super Shadow. Like last time, the molds are pretty decent and the paint jobs are kinda cheap. If you apply stickers, you could fix that problem, but it wouldn't last for very long. I think these are really cool, but it's too bad that in terms of function, they're all pretty much homogenized. The Sonic 2 toys were homogenized as well, since they were all just rolling push toys, but that set did a better job at hiding it since it had the characters doing different activities. Then, lastly, we're back to Burger King in late 2025. There are 6 toys to collect, and compared to Burger King's last attempt, there is a bit more effort put into these ones. These aren't little activities or pre-existing toys with Sonic stickers stuck onto them. This time, they're actual figures. They're Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow, and Rouge. The sculpts range from decent to kind of poor, but I'd go as far as saying that these ones are actually better sculpted than the Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 toys from McDonald's in the past few years, but only by a little bit. Unfortunately, where these go wrong is that the paint jobs are not so great. Some are better than others, and some are just really not good. The first one is Sonic. Besides the red shoe soles and blue inner ears, I'd say this one looks fine. Then there's Tails, which would have been perfect if not for his inner ears not being colored white. Then there's Knuckles, which looks good except his shoes are largely red, with no yellow stripe, no gray soles or shoe tops. Then there's Amy, which, could be better. Her dress and shoes are completely red, with the whites of the brim and the neckline of her dress, along with the folds and the vertical stripe of her boots, nowhere to be found. And I'd say the red soles of her shoes are the least of her problems. And then there's Shadow, who looks decent, but he carries a lot of the same issues that Amy does, but just not to the same degree. His inner ears are colored black, his shoes are completely red, devoid of any other color, and his gloves, while including the inhibitor rings, are just plain up white. Then there's Rouge, which is the worst of them all. Her suit is entirely pink, and her entire body, minus the wings, is white. Besides her muzzle and eye makeup, there's really not a lot going on here. Additionally, Burger King is also offering their iconic paper crowns donning the faces of Sonic, Amy, Knuckles, and Tails. These aren't toys, but they're neat little promotional items that I'm sure kids will enjoy. And so, that's 31 years of Sonic the Hedgehog fast food toys. And there will certainly be more because Sonic is a merchandise powerhouse. If the trend continues as it has been, we'll be getting more Sonic toys at McDonald's in early 2027 to coincide with the 4th Sonic movie. And I'm sure you guys have been wondering, where is that Sonic collaboration with Sonic? You know, the restaurant known for selling chili dogs? Yeah, where is that? And as I have said earlier, there are quite a few fast food Sonic toys that have released internationally in other countries that I did not get a chance to cover here. But maybe one day I'll cover them, along with other additional releases here in the United States. Who knows what the future may hold? Anyway, which Sonic fast food toys have you gotten in the past? Which ones are your favorite and why? There's a lot here that I covered, with about half of it being personal experience and the other half being research. So if there's anything I missed, please let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you soon with another video. Matane!